How you doing?
Right.
Good. I wanted to start out by asking you a question, which is like probably my favorite question to ask artists, and that is, how did you first know that you were an artist?
Well, I think that was a slow realization, although I think I was probably always wired that way. I just didn't know, what that wiring meant or that there was a polite name for it, Um, in, when I was growing up, I really wasn't exposed to that much art. Um,
Uh-huh.
my dad was an electrician and, he would lose his temper and lose his job, and then we would be in financial straits pretty frequently. So I think the concerns of my family were much more mundane, and there wasn't really money for art lessons and things. And I didn't even know that art colleges existed. I mean, that wasn't something I was exposed to at all. So it wasn't until later in life, I mean, if those things are in you, you eventually gravitate towards doing artistic endeavors. So I think that's kind of how it happened, just sort of gradually.
All right. So how old were you when you started making art? Like the
Well,
amazing sculptures we see behind you.
I've always engaged in an artistic endeavor, not always, but, for many, many years. I was started out by doing Chinese brush painting and made jewelry for a small jewelry company and did various things that were creative. But when I finally landed in sculpting, I feel like I found my lane. That was something three-dimensional things is more how my brain works more than on 2D art.
Okay. So when was this that you started doing sculptures?
Probably about 11 years ago
Cool.
when I
Well, you
started.
certainly have come a long way.
Thank
Congratulations.
thank you.
You talked about growing up. Where did you grow up, Debbie?
I'm a native Californian, born and raised in LA, and despite all its flaws, I love it here.
I love it too. I love LA. Um, Gosh, somebody should write a song with those. Kidding. Debbie, where'd you go to school?
I went to Cal State Northridge, and I was an English major actually, creative writing, and I ended up. I did a little writing for TV, and I've written some children's books, and um, right now I'm working with a partner and doing music. I'm doing the lyrics, and he's doing the musical compositions. And I also incorporate a lot of my original poetry into my sculpture. So even though, I don't have an art pedigree, so to speak, I'm more of a mutt, how I came to this place in my life. Um, those things kind of, weave their way back into your life, even though you don't necessarily see it. I mean, I don't really see past my nose, so it's like I don't really see where I'm going. I don't have like a big major plan. So, but those things are helpful. They just sort of, you end up using all those experiences.
That's very cool. Although I don't think you should call yourself a mutt.
Okay.
You're way too pretty to be called a mutt.
Mine's
Uh,
57. Okay.
so, Debbie, do you have any role models or special influences that inspire you?
Well, things that surprise me inspire me or make me laugh inspire me. So, if you're talking just like about artists, I really enjoyed taxidermy. I wouldn't want to do it, but I really get a kick out of artists who use that in their work. So there's an artist named Daniel Furman. I don't really even know if he's super famous or not. I just saw something that he did. Uh, he uses taxidermied elephant and he stood it on its trunk inside the gallery. So you've got this huge animal. So it sort of makes you question your ideas of gravity and space and what's even possible. So it's like, and of course it's disturbing because it's a dead animal, but it's also funny because of what he did. So it's like dark and funny and macabre and upsetting, but interesting, right? So I find like those kinds of things kind of rev me up.
Very cool. So, do you know how to do the share screen?
I do.
You
So,
just simply, use that green button at the bottom of your screen.
okay.
Is your PowerPoint open on your computer?
It is. So I should be able to toggle over there. Let's see this for 1 second
You
here.
got to hit share screen at the bottom, that
Okay.
green button at the bottom of your screen.
How's that? Are you seeing it?
No. Oh
No.
yeah, there it is. There it is.
Great. Okay.
Perfect. Great. So I love that you started with this image, Debbie, because it really says a lot about your work. It's certainly possible that a non-art person would look at this pile and think, what a bunch of trash.
That's right.
But I know you, Debbie, and I know that you look at objects like this and you think, what can I do with them?
That's right. That's right.
So tell me about this image.
Well, I pulled a bunch of stuff that's actually just in my garage, and I took the picture because I wanted to show the kinds of things that I start out with, and the things that I look for when I look for pieces to collect.
Uh-huh.
I thought this was kind of a good sampling of what goes on. So, I look at that, and I try to figure out what shapes remind me of something else, what would spur me on, to make something. So that's kind of how my mind works.
I think that's a really great way for us to start, because for those of you who don't know Debbie's work yet, you're going to see that she employs discarded, broken, distressed objects to create recognizable people and animals. And she does so precisely with that technique she just mentioned, looking at a piece of trash and allowing it to point her in a creative direction. So let's go in that creative direction, Debbie. Let's see your next piece, your next slide.
Okay, well, you would think that this would work, but it is not. Shoot.
How about just pressing on the mouse pad? Are you on a desktop or a laptop?
Laptop. 1 second.
So here. Just press on the mouse pad.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I was going to start with a couple sculptures that I made before I started my assemblage work.
Okay.
These were done, sculpted in clay and cast in bronze. So a fairly traditional way of starting out in sculpting.
Uh-huh. And wait, can you just go back for 1 second? So you said this is before you started your assemblage work. Do you remember about when you did this? What year?
This would probably be like 2011.
Okay, so about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you.
And this piece again was sculpted out of clay, and then this one was cast in resin and hand painted. But I still wasn't using, any other materials.
Right, and this is also 2011, 12, something like that. I asked Debbie, you guys, to put the dimensions into these slides because I think it's important to understand the scale of her work. Obviously, this is, let's say, a medium-sized sculpture, right? A little over 2 feet tall, but you're going to see some much larger work. Can we see the next one, Debbie?
Sure. Okay, so I included a shot of what it looks like when I'm working. So this is my studio, my normal studio. So
where is your studio, Debbie? Where is this photograph taken?
Hawthorne Arts Complex, which is a complex with about 100 units for artists only. It's not a live-in, it's just a workspace. So I rent there. And it's near LAX.
Uh-huh.
So I've got a place for all my stuff, although I do even, have more things at home, of course. I don't know if living with me is easy. So.
Are you going to the studio during COVID?
Only to grab things and bring them home. I'm not working there right now because the units don't have roofs. So they're just almost like office dividers, you know what I mean? So it's, and there's a lot of people. So I'm just not doing that. I just go there, snatch some stuff when nobody's around and bring it home. So
you have a studio at home as well then?
I'm afraid so. It's,
you're not afraid. A lot of people would envy that.
Well, it's not a true studio. It's, I've used my kitchen, my dining room, and my den. It's just like I've taken over. So the goddess herself, Betty Saar, produced most of her career changing sculptures in her kitchen too. I mean, not anymore.
but she was, a kitchen artist while she was raising her girls, like so many people have to be.
Yeah.
I want to say to everybody who's listening, if you have a question, please jump in. We're not tied to any kind of formal structure here. And so if you have a question or a comment, we want to hear from you. So don't hesitate to jump in with us. All right, Debbie, let's go to the next one.
Okay, so this is it was a horse that I was working on. So you can see some of the parts kind of close up. That's a jawbone from a buffalo. That's part of his shoulder. And on the neck, there's 2 horns that are actually from longhorn steer. And there's plumbing parts and different things involved in there. So I had to learn how to use tools, which I was not raised knowing how to do. And I, gratefully have only hurt myself a couple times. So.
and you're right. So many young women are not taught how to deal with power tools.
No, not at all.
And as you guys are going to see soon, Debbie's work definitely requires industrial strength technology. So I'm glad you included this photograph. Very impressive. You're macho. Macha.
So this is that horse that I was working on completed.
It's so amazing. And I hope you all can see that it is twice the size of the last piece that we looked at. So now you've gone to a pretty monumental scale.
Right.
Tell us about the tail.
That's actually rusted copper wire that's been twisted. It's stuff that I find, and I save with the intent that I have an idea of what I might be using it for. I've got a couple detail shots of this too. You can see like plumbing parts.
Old glass.
Yeah, can you see the cursor? I think you can.
Yes.
Okay, so
yes.
Plumbing parts. I think this is part of a wristwatch, some kind of a wrench thing. Not sure what that was. This is actually resin. It got a big chunk of it that I smashed on the ground and used the pieces to create the face.
And what's that metallic thing on the, oops?
This right here?
Yeah.
Off of a tray, like a handle on a tray.
Oh yeah.
But the shape worked well, for what I wanted.
It works so well, and this horse is so dynamic. I really love this piece.
Thank you.
Kudos. But you have some more close-ups, right?
I do. So I have a couple here. As part of a computer motherboard, and he's got some bells in the back, so he can't sneak up on anybody. So.
And is this part of one of your poems?
It is. It is.
Yeah. Debbie, I know it's really hard to do while you're presenting, but you might want to occasionally drop into the comments because, for example, Susan just wrote, "I adore this. How did you sculpt the resin of the horse face?"
I didn't. I actually got, that was actually a piece of trash, a piece of resin trash, and I just broke it on the ground, put it in a bag and smacked it with a hammer and broke it into pieces, and then, figured out how to put the puzzle together.
Great. It's an amazing piece. So dynamic and so surprising. Right? I mean, you look at it and everywhere you look, there's something new and unexpected. Brava.
Thank you.
We've had another question come in from Monica Marks.
Okay.
And Monica is asking, where did you find all of your beautiful found objects?
Well, I go to a lot of dirty places, junkyards and recycling places. I keep gloves in my car, and if I see something on the street or like someone's doing construction and they have a trash bin out front and I see something I want, I'm sure, it looks pretty weird. Like, what's this woman doing? Picking up trash and putting it in her car, but it's okay. It's okay. And sometimes people save stuff for me, now that my friends know, what I do. I get, gifted a lot of things too. If they have a nice machine part or some kind of a dial or nice piece of wood that they don't want, you know, they save it for me. So every way you can think of, by hook or by crook, that's how I get it.
Debbie, is that driftwood that's making up her body?
It is. It is. So I
Fabulous.
often collect stuff off of the beach or any place I can find. There's, I think like this is like some radiator part, I think, some kind of filtration of some aluminum. There's some wrought iron scraps, part of the lamp, you know, lots of different things. These are shells up here. I forget what they're called. Are they? They're not like barnacles, I don't think. But they do. I think they do stick themselves. Are they mussels? Maybe. No, I don't know. The mussels are blue. I don't remember what kind of shells these were, but I got these. Maybe this is part of a barbecue.
What about her face? Is that resin again?
That's resin. So sculpted in clay, mold is made, and then cast in resin, and then hand painted.
Fabulous.
Thank you. This is a close-up of a poem that's on there.
And where is that on the sculpture?
So I can show you where that is. On the right side, if you're looking up over here, so the poem would be right in here, and then part of the words are also right here.
Very cool. Thank you. So again, check out the size of this, you all. This is larger than life size. Tell us about dreaming, Debbie.
So with this piece, I wanted to do a male nude, but I wanted to make it look contemporary. So one of the things that I did is I gave it a prosthetic leg. And I also wanted to have, you know, it feel a bit surreal. And I love putting wings on my sculptures. It's just really fun. So I tend to do that a lot. And it's a fun way to use the scrap materials that I find. Again, here's the buffalo jawbone again.
And did you use a model?
I did research on some pictures of, I had some pictures of wounded warriors that I was looking at. They did a few different books of these guys who were, you know, very exercised, you know, very athletic looking, even though they had been wounded and it might be missing limbs, they were still in great shape. So I was looking at those. I think
What is he dreaming about?
Oh, someone he loves, of course. What else is there? There's a back shot, part of the poem there. I can't see the comments, so if you tell me if anybody asks anything, because I have this on slideshow, so it doesn't show me any comments.
Okay. Christine reminded everybody about your website and your Instagram.
Oh, thank you.
And Kim Abelies has said, I like that these are presenting both the accumulation of parts as well as what interior's guts would look like when dissected.
Oh, cool.
I have a question. It's Martin Steele.
Hi.
On that last piece, is the figure constructed from resin?
It is. So again, sculpted in clay, a mold is made, and then it's cast, and then and painted again. Yeah. So it's not as strong as bronze. You have to be a little more careful with it. It's kind of similar in strength to maybe a little stronger than terracotta, but not as strong as, you know, stone or bronze.
Thank you.
Debbie?
Where does this one live?
This one is in your exhibit right now. That's where he's living. I don't know where he's going to live next.
Debbie?
Yes.
Hi, it's Susan.
Hi.
Hi. Your work, as you know, is absolutely breathtaking. I mean, just, I'm really speechless. I love the way that you combine classic sculpture with these just really objet d'art and found objects and create something new with it. I love the way you weave your writing into it. It's absolutely stunning. It's so powerful. I'm curious, in your description of your training, where you describe yourself as a mutt, which you're not. But your English background, where did you learn to do such anatomically gorgeous sculpture?
Well, in adult art classes, you know, so as an adult, I took painting classes and sculpture classes, and that's how, you know, it's not something that I learned because I didn't really study art in college. You know, I didn't really know that was the direction that I was going to want to go.
Well, you obviously have a proclivity. I mean, it's obviously just in you. You're one of those people because, you know, lots of people could take night classes and not come up with this, but it's just breathtaking.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. You were about to start on the next one. There you go.
Yeah. So is probably about as abstract as I get. It's kind of like, in my mind, I think of it as like an icon of worship where you might see, you know, little offerings placed around it, something like that. And it's actually, this is a horse skull. I don't know if that's obvious, but here you can see the teeth, you know, here. And again, bone here, and then the rest, you know, wood and wire, and all these roses were sculpted. That was a lot of fun to do. And a horseshoe.
Are the roses resin?
They're actually out of a clay that gets hard. It's a non-bake epoxy. So you have to work kind of quick, and then hand paint it again. So interestingly, you know, I'm an atheist, but I do use some religious imagery in my works and religious themes. And I was thinking about, you know, why I would do that. And I think it's because whether or not you're religious, you're still exposed to all that growing up, right? And it's still a common language to people. They still know what you're trying to express when they see something that's kind of has religious connotations to it. So, and I was trying to express some of that kind of spiritual feeling. So,
well, I think it's important to remember that religion and spirituality are not necessarily the same thing.
Right.
And you can certainly be a profoundly spiritual person and not participate in any organized religion, right. Or not even like, approve of, or understand an organized religion, but you can still be spiritual. So people make altars for spiritual reasons, not just religious reasons.
Exactly. I think that would be in that category.
Well, it's beautiful.
Thank you. So here again, I got to sculpt flowers again, which is I love doing. And I wanted to do something kind of romantic because I love to do that. And passionate and sexy. So that was kind of the thinking.
Is this the whole figure?
Yeah, she's just the head, and she's actually mounted on a pedestal. I don't know if I don't think I put a picture of that.
Oh, so you have it 66 inches. That includes the pedestal?
That includes the pedestal, yeah. The head itself is probably, with the flowers, 30 inches, you know. I'm raising my hands so you can see what I'm doing. But it's about 30 inches, probably 30 inches high and 30 inches wide. So it's, you know, larger than life, and then mounted on a wooden pedestal.
So Debbie, do you know Mud Baron?
No. M-U-D?
Yeah.
Mud.
He's an artist who deals with flowers, and he creates nest-like arrangements of flowers to put on people's heads.
Oh, I'm going to love that. I'm going to look.
Well, she would be a sister of one of the things he does.
I'm going to have to take a look. That sounds really great.
We've had a question come in from Monica Marks. She says, first of all, I'm 110% in love with your work. What is your painting technique on the figures?
So when I paint, it's done in layers. So I'll do, it's probably similar to what people do when they paint on canvas. I don't know how to paint on canvas, so I'm just surmising. I'll start with, you know, like a dark base coat, and then layer and layer and layer, lighter and lighter, you know, to get the tones that I want. And that I do that on the flowers, I do that on the skin, on everything. So it kind of gives it a depth, you know, rather than just painting it one flat color. And I don't really like, you know, how ceramic glazes look on figurative sculpture. I don't care for that. So that's why I moved to this.
Well, it's glorious. Thank you.
So this one is one of the few that I've made where I've actually worked from a model and not, you know, photographs or, you know, kind of an amalgam of figures. This guy was besides being a model, he worked as a fire spinner. So he put these, I don't know, burning rags on chains and spin them around. You know, people would hire him for parties or something. So I wanted to make him kind of exotic and wild looking because that suited his personality.
That's so cool. I've never heard of fire spinning, Debbie.
Well, I hadn't either, but you know, you meet a lot of interesting people who do a lot of crazy things to make ends meet, right?
I really like the fact that this is clearly a portrait of a unique individual rather than a idealized figure out of your head. I like that it's a portrait.
Yeah, this one actually looks like him.
Okay, so we got a couple more comments. Let me read them real quick. Monica Marks. Oh no, she's asked. We already read that she asked about the painting technique, but she also says, "What inspires your themes and figures?" And by the way, Lorraine Bubar writes that she recognizes the fire spinner from modeling sessions.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So back to Monica's. What inspires your themes and figures, Deb?
Well, I think, you know, ideas come to me kind of two ways. Sometimes rapidly, you know, I get an idea that I want to make, you know, a horse, or I want to make a guy who looks kind of tribal. And then other times it just sort of, it's kind of like La Brea tar pits, you know, it just sort of bubbles up. It's like out of the sludge, it's like, oh, what is this? Well, maybe I'll do this, you know, and it kind of comes up slowly. So it comes, I wouldn't say there's anything in particular like a basket that I can go to for ideas or like inspiration. I mean, things just hit you, right? Like something hits you funny or something, you know, it's like kind of like a lightning bolt.
Are you an equestrian? Do you ride horses?
Well, my daughter took lessons when she was young, so I spent, you know, a fair amount of time at the stables with her. I love horses and think they're really gorgeous. I'm a little afraid of them, you know, but I have ridden, but it's always, you know, I'm not a relaxed rider. She was much more calm, you know, about it because they're so gigantic. So.
Well, your horses are fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you. This one started out because I found this piece of wood on the beach. And I looked at it and I could see that horse eye. Because it's just and shape.
It's amazing. It looks exactly like a horse eye.
That's what I thought when I saw it. So I snatched it. It's just from somebody's bonfire on the beach. You know, but I could see it, you know. So if we slow down just for a minute and look at things, which most artists do, but it's maybe hard for, you know, people who aren't artists to do. You know, it's there. It's there. Just have to slow down for a minute, right?
Yep. And I think that's one of the important functions of contemporary art. We live in such a fast-paced society where, you know, we're used to things changing in seconds on our screens. And in order to really understand and appreciate contemporary art, you have to slow your pace and spend some time in the quiet with the artwork. I noticed that you've got another jaw right here on the
I love the buffalo jaw bones because they really work.
How do you get those?
So I get those online. I mean, I did. I don't know if they're still available, but you know, you can pretty much just Google whatever you want. you want something and have it, you know, in a couple of days. So I love bones. And so my friends also save me stuff. You know, if they live in places where things die and they save the bones for me. Actually, one of the people at the museum saved me some bones. Daisy, thank you very much. She gave me a bag of bones. So I was quite delighted with that gift. And I'm sure I'm going to put it to good use.
So you got another comment from, in this case, from John Weiblinger. And he says, love that your work combines both beauty and a wonderful sense of humor.
Oh, thank you, John.
I actually have a sort of a comment on that. You know, we're coming in from a very serious art world, and Debbie, I know that humor is important to your work. So I was curious to know, you know, what role does humor have in the art world, in your opinion?
Well, you're asking me. You know, funny is one of my favorite. So I mean, it's how you get through all of life, right? I mean, how else on earth can you get through all the things we as human beings have to get through? I wouldn't be able to do it. So it's a way of, and it's certainly a way of connecting with people and breaking down the facade of propriety, right? You know, if you get someone to smile and, you know, share a laugh, you know, it's a much more pleasant, relaxed interaction, you know. I think I've got a couple thoughts of this. If this is the back side of it. You see there's another bone. So this bone here was actually a gift. So I was able to use that. I'm not sure who the original owner was, but, and this piece here, a friend of mine threw it in the trash. It's some kind of clamp, but I yanked it right out of the trash and was able to use it. And I like the orange splash that it puts on there. And these are some kind of, I don't know if they're audio plugs or what they were used for, but I found that at the Reclaimed Item Center.
Debbie, I know you talked about it a little bit in the beginning, but can you, in the context of these that you're showing us, can you say a little bit more about what these found objects are for you? Like, you know, why, how this comes together for you, or why are you using these objects as opposed to just, you know, sculpting something that's realistic looking? Like, what is this for you?
Because it's much more challenging, to me, in a way. I mean, not that you don't have to be highly skilled to do, you know, photorealistic sculptures. It's more interesting. Let me put it to you. It's more interesting to me. It's because besides looking at that it's a horse, if you wanted to stand there for a minute, you could look at all the things that make up that horse, right? As opposed to just, you know, a horse that you've seen 1,000 times rendered in 1,000, you know, probably pretty similar ways. So, and you know, I think it's something that comes naturally to me. It's something that when I was a kid, and something that I did with my own children, I would play this game with them where I would like scribble on a piece of paper, and then I would tell them to, you know, pick out a figure to see what they see in it. You know, because that's something that always came naturally to me. I always saw figures, I always saw things and other things. I always was reminded. It was always, you know, I'd look at something and it looks like a, you know, a butterfly wing, or it looks like a leg. It just always came naturally to me. So in a way, it's an organic expression of how I see the world.
I love it. One of the things I really love about this, you obviously have, as we said a second ago, this incredible talent and flair for sculpting the realistic. So when I'm looking at this horse, for example, even with these found objects, it's an anatomically correct horse. I mean, it's a horse. And what I love about the found objects is it kind of says this: nothing is really what it seems. We are all made up of bits and pieces that are not really what we seem necessarily. So I just love that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Debbie, did you write that poem, the Quasimodo love poem?
I did.
Okay, I won't ask you anything personal about that.
Okay.
But now we have the lovers. Tell us about this piece.
So I got this idea. I wanted to, number one, I hadn't seen much gay art, you know, that I liked. So I wanted to do something really beautiful. And And also I wanted to do something that was sort of layered in the sense that we have one perception of clowns. You know, it's like some guy dresses up in a goofy suit and acts wild, but there are people under there, right? Just like, you know, we have our own masks that we wear out in public and we behave a certain way. And we, you know, are kind of private and don't really show people, you know, our interior, but, you know, what they're expressing in that passion is in all of us. You know, it just runs like hot lava inside of us, but we all have to pretend when we go to Target that we're, you know, that we're calm and we're going to go shopping or whatever. It's just, but these are what make emotions, are what make us human, right? And it's, and I like acknowledging that, and I like people admitting that back to me. You know, I like having that kind of a conversation on an emotional level. I think, you know, the art that I make, you know, is emotion based, right? Because the themes that I'm attracted to are love and lust and sex and heartbreak and humor and those kinds of things, as opposed to somebody who's like more analytical or logical or mathematical, you know, in the things that they do. I think we can safely leave it to someone else to be logical. So.
It's so interesting to me because, like your horses, these figures are both very surreal and very real, because the passion and tenderness between these two figures is, you know, that strikes at the depth of our humanity, and yet, you know, they're floating heads,
right,
with all kinds of weird stuff around them. Right? It's a great piece.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, somebody who cooks probably knows what this is. It's some kind of a pot and it has another thing with it. Maybe somebody knows what that kind of a cooking thing is. I don't really even know what that's used for. I don't know. Somebody know? Nobody knows. Nobody cooks. Okay.
Well, I cook and I don't know what that is. Is it copper? Is it copper?
Well, this one's in bronze now, but the original piece I think was in steel, so or aluminum. You know, I guess. Not sure what kind of things you're supposed to make.
It may not be a cooking utensil. It may be some kind of industrial device.
Oh, okay.
But see, that's what makes your work so cool, because you are constantly interrogating. What is that?
Right. Well,
where's that from?
Oh.
and it's a mystery, and that mystery draws viewers in, so that's a good thing.
There's a couple close-up shots.
So beautiful.
Thank you. So these are bronze, and then these are painted in oil. So, and it takes many days, because each layer with oil paints, you have to let it dry. Otherwise you get just a muddy mess. So when I paint on resin, I can use acrylic, and then it dries much more quickly, and you can just use a blow dryer on it and keep working. But with these, you have to wait.
So Debbie, you don't do your own bronze casting, do you?
No.
So where do you have it done?
So I take it to, there's a guy out in North Hollywood who does my molds and my foundry work for me. There's a few places. There's one actually out in Hawthorne also that does that kind of work. That's a whole other skill set, and I don't think it looks that fun, quite frankly. So, I don't think I want to get involved with it. So this piece started because I was in a store, a secondhand store, and I found these moose antlers. So I was thrilled to death to score these. And I knew I wanted to use it as wings, and I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do with it. But when I started thinking about it, they were too heavy to be feminine. So I knew I needed to do a male figure, so I decided to do a male butterfly. That's what I ended up doing. So these are maybe parts of Wine Caddy. I'm not sure what this was off of. a rake, some kind of heater vent.
And is his face cast resin?
Yes. I might have got close up here.
Wait, how far out from the wall does this hang, Debbie?
He's on a post.
He's on a pedestal.
Yeah, he's on his own pedestal. So.
Huh. Very cool.
He's got a glass heart. He's kind of a sensitive guy.
So Debbie, from John again, he writes, my very favorite work, so profoundly deep and passionate.
Thank you.
I think he's writing about this one. It might have come in about the last one, the kissing one, but it's fabulous. John, are you still out there?
I am.
Did you mean that comment about the two people kissing or about the butterfly image?
I meant it about the butterfly image, but I love the two men kissing as well. It's so beautiful.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Debbie, you want to tell us about Samurai Kiss?
Yes. So more kissing. My favorite thing, apparently. I wanted to do two samurai figures, a male and a female. So this is the female, and I'll show you the male in a minute. So that's how she started out. I don't even know if there were female samurai, but I just thought it would be fun to do. And it kind of, the sleeves on these kind of figures go very well with the types of pieces that I find, which are sometimes these long panel pieces of metal. So again, I sculpted the face first so that I have an idea like the size of the would be, and then just went at it. One thing I'll mention that I try to do is think about the base for the sculpture and not just plop it on something. I try to make it, cohesive, the whole thing work together. So this I built specifically, for that.
So I just have to jump in and read what Monica Marks just wrote. You can never have enough kissing.
Okay, good. That's
great, right?
There's also a question from Susan Copper-Carey. They ask, are these sculptures, particularly the large ones, like the horses, designed to be outdoors in the elements?
No, I wish that could be true, but really the only thing that holds up outside would be stainless steel or bronze. You start putting anything else out there, it's just going to rust through, it's going to ruin the patinas on things, the sun's going to kill the paint job. They're just not made for outside.
Where do you warehouse all of these things?
Well, I barely have room to live. So, luckily, a lot of them tend to be, out, either in a show or something like that. So I have, some at my home and some at my studio and some in galleries. Occasionally, they all come home to roost, and then it's, pretty tight. So that's what I do. I mean, when you come to my house, you'll see. We'll see what happens,
You haven't told us where your house is, Debbie.
Oh, I'm in Sherman Oaks, so come on over.
I could walk over there.
Debbie Christine has an idea. She says that she kind of likes the idea, referencing the idea that they would sort of wear over time, letting them be more ephemeral.
They would wear over time. I had somebody who wanted to buy it for his beach house, actually, one of the big horses that I've done. And, the beach is really hard on things. But I had to be honest and say, it's, it may last 5 years like that, but then it's going to start, the beach is murder and stuff. So it's not going to last. So this one, I actually made, I think I made this one before I made the other one. I found this big piece of copper. This is a beautiful, it's huge and heavy, this piece back here. And so I had to make everything else, you know, to scale for that. So, and these are like the car door parts that I had found. It's a saw blade up here. And now this you can see it better over here. Some kind of fluids go through these copper tubes. I don't know what this originally was. The things are beautiful if you stop for a minute, you know, it's.
I love the sense of motion in this guy.
Thank you.
What's the silver piece on his headdress?
I think that might have been like part of a hubcap or something, or part of a wheel on a car or truck. And it's actually folded over, almost like a fortune cookie. So when you see it from the side, you know, you see that it's doubled up. And then I modified, you know, I found some swords and I modified them with different parts that I would find to make them look kind of antique looking. And this is one of my artist friends with me. So, and that's it.
Oh my goodness, Debbie, those are totally glorious pieces. I'm so glad that you got a chance to share them with everybody.
I'll stop here and come back.
So now you can read the comments.
Let's see. Would that be in the chat, right?
Yeah. So Laura Larson just wrote, I think your work is astounding and beautiful. These large pieces must be quite heavy. Do you have assistants that you work with?
No, I don't. Where I have my studio, there is someone who can help me carry things in and out from my car. I don't have anyone, you know, helping me with, you know, assembling them. So I have to do things that I can manage.
Sue Karudi says, I love Samurai Kiss, and unfortunately there's no women's samurai, but you made one. I love it.
Okay, good. Well, maybe now there will be.
John Weiblinger says, love how all the disparate pieces come together to make a whole, and yes, glorious.
Thank you.
And it's sort of the title of your show, right? The sum of its parts.
Yeah. I did that not only because of, you know, the pieces that are assemblage, you know, and then there's a whole bunch of random pieces put together, but also because it's like us, right? We're a big hodgepodge of everything that's happened to us. So
yes.
we're kind of, hopefully, you know, greater than the sum of our parts too, right?
Mm-hmm. Karen Brown says, I love your work, so imaginative. And Lorraine Duvar says, fantastic. I look forward to seeing more in person when there are more gallery shows again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I would say that this was pretty well received. Everybody's raving about your work. Congratulations, Debbie.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for sharing your day with me. I appreciate it very much. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, thank you. It's been a wonderful hour. And thank you, Robert, for setting this up. And thank you to everybody for coming in and joining us. It's been great having all these comments and all this interaction. The work deserves it.
Thank you.
Debbie deserves it.
Absolutely. Let's see. So we're here now. Thank you all for the great comments. You have, again, just a number of comments coming in, just commenting on how beautiful the sculptures are. On behalf of the museum, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I'd especially like to give a special thanks to Debbie Korbel and Betty Ann Brown for joining us today. Good work, Debbie.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
So
Thank you, Robert.
We have recorded this talk, so look for probably sometime next week at being available for you to access and share amongst your own networks as well.
Great, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you all.
Good job, Debbie.
Good luck to you, Debbie.
Thank you. Thank you. See you guys.
Bye now.
I hope you're walking on clouds now. After getting this kind of feedback. It's
I'm gonna go kiss somebody.
That's right.
So congratulations.
Bye.
Bye now. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.